Okay, guys, welcome back to episode 5 of the Designated Players podcast. That's right, we made it 5 whole episodes. That's actually pretty big. I didn't know we were going to get this far, I got to be honest with you. But today, we're going to go ahead and talk about Western Conference, previews, predictions, and all the lot. We're going to round up some CCL before that happens, and we actually are going to do it before that happens. I'm not going to get stuck and have to rewind. Give our standings predictions for the West. We're going to introduce a new segment, the fantasy segment, where we're going to give you one must-have player for the week and one sleeper pick that could come out and score some points for you, a little bit of a differential pick. And then we're going to give quick-fire predictions for this week's games because MLS starts, when you guys are listening or watching this, MLS starts tomorrow. Then we'll hit everybody with the question of the day, and that'll be it. Again, joined here with the other two designated players. I got Adam and Connor here, but let's jump right into it with Scarf of the Week. We're just going to skip over Connor because Connor doesn't have his again. Adam, what are you rocking?
Toronto FC scarf that my friend got me 4 or 5 years ago. I don't remember who they played. But yeah, representing the Canadian teams since Montreal just squeaked by their CCL game.
Yeah, we'll get to that. And then I'm rocking just another Red Bull scarf, kind of general, not much going on with this one, but it does say New York Red Bull across the scarf, so that's always cool. Jump right into CCL roundup, and we'll actually go back to last week's first leg because we didn't get to talk about New York City or Seattle. So again, we're recording this after Montreal's game, so we still haven't seen LAFC's second leg or Seattle's second leg. But Seattle's first leg, they came out with a 2-2 draw, which is disappointing, basically for the fact that they were up 2-0 to start. Morris, I thought, was electric, and I really like João Paulo at center mid. And other than that, I really was upset with kind of the way that they weren't able to hold on to the lead, obviously. But I don't think Rui Diaz had his feet under him. I think maybe he needs another week or something. He just wasn't playing like himself. He had a lot of chances that just they kind of fell short, and we'll see what happens in game 2, obviously. But yeah, I wasn't all impressed with their second half, and they really got to come out firing at home.
Yeah, I mean, I may have turned this game off at halftime. I assumed Seattle kind of had it in the bag based on the first half, and I went to bed early. So I'll take your word for it.
That's why we never sleep on the second half of football matches.
Yeah.
Moving into NYC's first week, 5-3 win. Hebert going off for a hat trick, but albeit against a team that they really should be beating. I remember I was watching this game with my dad and a good friend of mine, and I think every time San Carlos touched the ball, I literally just out loud said, "Oh my God, these guys are horrible." Every time they touched the ball, it was a bad pass, or they would try and make a tackle and just miss the ball. It was like playing a high school team. It was bad. So they come out with 5-3, and the one thing that worries me is their back line. Not so much for this series because they did come in and finish the job at home. Not really at home, at my home, our home, Red Bull Arena.
Your home.
My home. I actually live there on the weekends.
Uh-huh.
But for the rest of the season, that's kind of worrisome, right? Because the way that they got beat was a bad team kicking the ball over the top, splitting the center backs, and a guy running through on goal. And that's how a lot of teams in this league like to go against teams that are better than them technically. And they're going to be better than most teams technically. We know that. We saw it last year, and they haven't changed much. So that should worry any supporter of NYC, which is maybe all like 1,500 of them that showed up to the game today. But yeah, that should worry people because they're going to get beat a lot that way. And Dyla, however you pronounce his last name, he went out and said, "We'll win every game 5-4. I don't care. We just want to have fun." So
It's the old Houston Dynamo strategy.
Yeah.
I think obviously, like you said, the defense may be a worry, but if the attack's scoring 5 goals a game, that'll certainly be fun to watch. Maybe they'll up your quoted 1,500 supporters.
I just say that because I watched the game today where they came up with the 1-0 win. to seal victory on a 6-3 aggregate. And they basically they got a clean sheet, but there were times where the ball would just get played over and Johnson would be left one-on-one, or they couldn't sort out what was going on, and it was a weird thing. And to add everything, insult to injury, they were playing at our stadium with you look around and they talk about how we can't sell out a stadium. I think genuinely they might have had maximum 5,000 people there.
Yeah, I will say more so with first leg versus second leg. But yes, they scored 5 goals, but I wasn't overly impressed with NYC. I mean, they were the far better team. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't necessarily blown away by them, which is good. I mean, that's the mark of a good team, is when you aren't necessarily playing 100% and you can still score 5 goals. I mean, once they kind of get in the swing of things, once the season gets going, they could be pretty scary once they get their stuff together.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're gonna be really good going forward. I do want to see them play against a team that
plays soccer.
Yeah, that's a legitimate team.
Yeah.
However, I don't think they're going to have any issues. The one thing I'll take from the game that I saw today was they were super fluid. Every time they touched the ball, people were where they're supposed to be. So tactically, they're there. It's just a matter of, can they shore up that back line so they compete with Atlanta. But yeah, I'll throw the second leg of Atlanta over to Connor because I'm sure he wants to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously better performance than your 1-1 game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the attack really started to shine in this game, and it was kind of interesting for me to see them play with Yosef almost as like a target man, kind of just playing the ball into him and then laying it off for PT or Barco, who was kind of a little bit behind him, and then watching him just running behind after laying the ball off. But it worked for them, and him and PT were on great chemistry. They scored and assisted to each other all night, and it was probably a little bit of a preview of what's to come this season if they can stay healthy and keep that nice connection going. And if that's the case, then that attack's going to be so dangerous, especially if you can even get Barco more involved. And then defensively, I thought they were more solid. I mean, I'm still not 100% confident in them yet, but we'll see what happens. And, obviously they'll get more of their guys back. They still have visa issues and injuries and whatnot. But, I thought it was encouraging signs for the game.
Yeah, the one thing I took away from it is really you guys might have the best attacking 3 in the entire league. Yosef, I think PT is going to be a monster this year. He just looked like a different player. And again, against maybe a weaker side in Motagua, but the fact that he came out there, and I think he had an interview where he started speaking about himself in the third person, like Zlatan.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Bro, that right there is just the mark of somebody who's got this energy about him, that he's just ready to go take people on and show them that he's better than them. And that as an Atlanta fan, you should be excited about.
Yeah, I mean, he should finally be the guy that everybody was expecting him to be off the bat. The South American Player of the Year.
Oh yeah. I saw glimpses of that. That's what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So, where are we here? Excuse me, I'm having a coughing fit. And then I guess finally, because the last thing we have to talk about, because LA hasn't started, Montreal, the single most boring team to physically watch, and people are gonna talk about this team and say, oh, but they moved on and they beat a Saprissa team and all this stuff. But as Adam put it, and then I'm going to toss it over to him after I repeat what he said, MLS games don't have 2 legs. You can't park the bus and hope for 0-0 every game.
I mean, you can. It's called the FCC strategy.
Jesus.
That worked out.
Pretty had to shoehorn them in somewhere. This is the Western Conference and CCL stuff. They didn't play this week, and we're not talking about them. So had to slate them at least once today. But yeah, this game was just abysmal from Montreal perspective. I mean, they sat usually in a 5-3-2, sometimes a 5-4-1, but five guys in the back line the entire game. I mean, they ended up 30% possession at home. I think they were outshot something like 13-3. I mean, it was bad. Granted, got the job done. Well done, I guess, to them.
Mm-hmm.
Well done to Thierry Henry. Well done to everyone. But yeah, this you can't really take that strategy into the weekend. They play a New England team that's going to come to them, and they may have to play five at the back again because that attack for New England is going to look to score goals.
Yeah. This game reminded me a lot of Red Bull when they were playing Champions League last year against was it Chivas? I think it was Chivas who I think beat us 1-0 away and then just parked the bus and we couldn't get a goal on them at home. And yeah, that wasn't good on our side, but that's exactly what I was thinking when I was watching this game was just oh goodness, here we go again. But no, good for Montreal. I'm really happy they were able to move on. That's 3 out of 3 MLS clubs. None of us got close with the Saprissa. I mean, I know I didn't. Did you get close on your Saprissa prediction, Adam?
I don't remember what I said, but I don't think so.
All right. I was the closest on Atlanta. I said 4-1. They moved on 4-2. So, I'm really smart and good at these type of things. We both
Did
predicted.
Atlanta move on 4-1?
Yeah, they moved on 4-1. I said 4-2. So I was closest.
Okay.
And then NYC San Carlos, I said 3-1. And they moved on 6-3. So
yeah.
And then Seattle Olympia's 2-2. And I said Olympia advances 4-3. So we'll see what happens. And then LAFC Leon, I said 3-3 on away goals. Well, that's not happening. So
3-3 could happen.
3-3 could happen, but they won't move on.
No.
Great. So we move on. We're going to go preview the Western Conference. Oh, look, I see Adam gave himself his favorite team. So go ahead and start with Colorado.
Just wasn't intentional. It was just,
we
started. No, I was the one who made the Google Doc for the week, and they were alphabetically the first team. Can't help it if I just get to talk about Colorado again. So, this team, I mean, I'm not going to go on. This team is going to be good, and I'll just leave it at that. I mean, granted, they finished 9th last season, but I think they are the complete package now. And I know Jimmy Conrad agrees with me. We are the co-conductors of the Colorado Rapid hype train this year.
No, quick side note. Anybody, manager Eno in at Red Bull, is anybody opposed? I'm not.
What happened?
Manager Eno?
Go ahead.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you don't know?
No.
Oh, Connor and I know. That's for something else. Don't worry about that.
All right.
As long as he has his boy Kevin Gamero, you guys will be fine.
I will take Kevin Gamero at Red Bull. But anyway, side note over.
Yeah, the only issue, and it's not really an issue, is Kai Kamara at 35 is probably going to be their starting striker. But I think he's got enough talent and support around him that he might actually do very well this year. And just as a little side note, they have only one DP on their roster. So they still have 2 DP spots to get better. Which, looking at this team, is crazy. Yeah,
no, I agree completely. I'm excited. They've been slowly building up to this team. Every year they're adding a few pieces here and there. I think they're starting 11 roughly. Erwin Rosenberry, what is it? Aaron Trusty? Yeah.
Yep.
Abubakar. Really, I have 2 asterisks next to Vines. Sam Vines, I think, is supposed to be the guy this year. Like, he's supposed to have a breakout year this year, from what I'm reading. Acosta and Price, Benazet, Nomley, Mosquita, or Lewis, and then Kamara or Nicholson. They've got pieces all over the place. They're good, they're deep, and they're exciting. And I think that they've got the potential to make waves in a really competitive Western Conference. They've only lost one of their top 7 from last year, and he was gone before half the season was over. I don't remember who it was, but I wrote that down. Robin Fraser's has a lot of players to work with, and they finished in great form last year. They finished 4-2, and they beat Seattle and Galaxy. So yeah, just really excited with these guys.
Yeah, Shin Yoshiki's also one to mention. I think he's going to do pretty well again this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they definitely have improved. Definitely see them as a playoff team. Probably not to the extent that Adam sees them as a playoff team, but
It's all right. That's fine.
definitely an improved team. They'll be interesting to watch this year. I would love to see how they use, or like, I guess how much they use Rubio and Lewis, and then obviously got to see what old man Kamara can do. I think he'll still be solid though. I mean, he's a veteran in the league.
Oh, Benny Feilhaber was the guy they lost last year out of their top 7.
That's fine.
And that doesn't matter. But hey, listen, Connor, if you're not going to get on the hype train, there's more space for Adam and his ego, so we're good.
Okay.
It's not my ego. I'll be the first one to say I'm wrong if I'm wrong, but I won't be, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, good. FC Dallas. Conan.
Well, let me scroll to my notes. Okay, so obviously this is like the Western Conference, RBNY, just all about the youth academy. Some of their top rivals were Thiago Santos and Fafa Picault.
Oh yeah, Fafa Picault.
And then, yeah, they lost Baji and Guezo. And at the moment, I don't know how accurate it is, but according to Transfer Market, the 3 injuries that they have right now: Brian Acosta, Bill Tuiloma, and Andres Flores. So based on all of that, I feel like that their defense is going to be a strong point for them. I just think that they have a really solid back line. Gonzalez, Cannon, Hollingshed, Ziegler, and Hedges. And I think that that's going to be the part of the field that'll keep them in games. As long as they can stay healthy, obviously. Also, think that these guys could be strong fantasy options, not to get ahead of ourselves, but the midfield, I think that it'll be exciting to see the advancement of Pamical this year and see if this is his breakout year, both for Dallas and then hopefully also for the U.S. men's national team.
Mm-hmm.
I think having the strong defense behind him will really allow him to go forward and have a stronger attack. And then I think also the addition of Thiago Santos will also help him shore up the midfield a little bit more. And then the attack is also going to be exciting. I mean, you have Jesus Ferreira. You have who's also another young guy that's going to be exciting to watch, like Paxton. And then, of course, you always have Michael Barrios, who's always a very solid player for them. And I'm curious to see a full season of Andrzejczyk as their striker and see what he can do, because I think he scored a couple goals in preseason for them.
Yeah, he also scored at the international level, too. He could play. Adam, what do you got? I'm going to go last on this one.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything Connor said. I look at them also as the Red Bulls of the Western Conference. Again, I mean, I love some of their academy guys. Paxton Pomykal, I think needs to be in the U.S. team hopefully this year. Speaking of which, Gio Reyna, I think, is getting the call up, so shout out to him. But yeah, I'm excited to see Pomykal next to Thiago Santos in that midfield. And then Andrzejczyk's one of my usual fantasy strikers when I need a Dallas player. So I'm always hyped to see him score.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm confused with these guys. So they've made good signings, but they're always just this lackluster team. At one point, Jesse Gonzalez was tabbed to be the next best young goalkeeper in the league, and now he's losing his spot to Jimmy Maurer, but then sometimes he gets it back. You've got a back 4 or 5 with Hedges, Bresson, Hollingshead, Ziegler, Cannon, and no one jumps out to you as like, whoa, this guy is good, unless Adam picks Hollingshead and then he scores 4 goals in fantasy when I don't take him. But that's a different story for another day. And Hedges is really the one there that jumps out, and he hasn't been amazing since like 2016. Let's be real. Their entire center mid core is like 22 years old, and nobody's heard of them outside of Acosta, Barrios, and Mosquera on the wings. Pomykal needs to break out, and we can talk about that forever. You've got Andrasic up top, who we know is going to do fine, and then they signed a DP and loaned him out. Aranguiz is their DP, and they just sent him out on loan. They're all over the place. Like, I don't know what to think about them. And they've got a new boss over there, and he's got to sort some things out and get this team going in a direction. They fell from 1st to 8th in 2018, and it was a fall from grace. It was one of the worst fall outs of a team in first place in history, and it's been just broken ever since. So they signed Franco Jara, but he's not coming until July. And once he gets here in July, it's going to be like 100 degrees in Dallas. So good luck there. They're going to be short a striker for a little bit if Andrasic goes down or is called in a national camp or whatever. So they really got to start strong, or they might be so behind before he gets there that yikes. Acosta is going to be the big name for me here, and I know he's hurt, but whenever he gets back, he needs to be rock solid. He's been good, not great, and he's got to be great if this team wants to take the next step. The back line's not bad, but you don't have to worry about the leaking parts of the back line or the rotating goalkeeper if your center defensive mid's a rock. Also, shout out Nikosi Burgess. I played against him. Good dude. Congrats on your draft, getting drafted, and making the roster. Houston. I just have my opening word here is ugh. And that's because it's another team that I want really to be decent, right? Remember the era when they had Brad Davis and they were always fighting against Galaxy for the MLS Cup? That was fun. Now they're just like existent. They just exist. I watched them against Red Bull in preseason, and they played their relatively strong starting 11. Their back line was awful. They started a new goalkeeper in Marek, and he just looked like every time the ball came to his feet, he was like he'd never kicked a ball before. Like, he just was really uncomfortable. Their back line is 36-year-old Maynor Figueroa, who's been playing since literally I remember watching soccer. Mm-hmm. Kiki Struna, who is just really slow everywhere. Zarek Valentin, who's probably the best on their roster. Fuenmayor, who's coming off injury. Adam Lundqvist, who was non-existent during preseason. Their midfield is walking yellow card 35-year-old Boniek Garcia, walking yellow card Darwin Seren, Tomas Martinez, who's very good at cam, and then you've got wingers in Vera, Memo Rodriguez, T-Mac, Ellis, and then the attack is good with Pena, Quintero, Manotas, Ramirez. Adam mentioned that this team could win every game 4-3, and that's legitimately a possibility.
They'll score more than 4. I said like 7-6.
Still. And I think they're taking the NYC approach, or NYC is taking their approach, and that's what they're going for. Everything's bigger in Texas, and apparently score lines are going to be bigger in Texas too.
Mm-hmm. It's fine with me.
Is that going to be their motto for this year? Score lines are bigger in Texas.
I think it has to be now. We'll send it to them later. They don't have the hardest game to start off the season. It's just the Galaxy. Their attack isn't that good. Their defense will be fine. Oh wait, no, that's bad. Chicharito and Pavone should have fun this weekend.
Yeah.
You never know. Houston came out first day and smacked Atlanta around.
True.
Yeah, that's when Atlanta had De Boer and they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the Galaxy. They've looked okay in preseason. They lost to Toronto 2-1. And then they somehow beat Colorado, which I don't want to admit. But that was a weird game. Both teams are kind of using B teams. Zlatan, we can have this debate all day. I've said this on the podcast before, but Chicharito isn't Zlatan. You can convince me that Chicharito will replace that goal-scoring threat that he left, but he's not Zlatan. In 2 years for the Galaxy, this man played 56 games. Can anyone guess how many goals he scored?
60.
52. But he nearly averaged a goal a game, which is ridiculous considering the man's 37 years old and came in like, I think he flew in the night before the El Tráfico derby that time and scored a 30-yard banger.
He is superhuman, that's for sure.
Yes, Chicharito is not. He's very good, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but I think Pavone has a better season than he does.
I completely agree. 100%.
Yeah.
I think that they're just not a good team defensively, and I feel like they didn't do much to change it. But
That's
yeah,
why
I agree.
Every single person listening to this should watch the Houston-LA game this weekend because it's two teams that can attack for days and can't defend. So it either is going to be a 0-0, which would be awful, or like a 10-10, this game's awesome, let's never let it end kind of thing.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm here for that.
I was going to say, no, I agree again, right? Their back line sucks, and their top is really good. And, the only thing that I'm really interested to see is because their back line is so bad, and they don't really have a true holding mid anymore, because Kitchen is like 90 years old, and he's been playing forever.
Gio.
Does Jonathan Dos Santos...
That's what I meant, Jonathan.
Yeah, I know. So JDS is one of the best 8s in the league. He's like a Nagby. He goes forward and backwards really well. But because they aren't going to have a lot of protection there, and both of their center backs, they haven't replaced them, and they've both been awful, does that force him to sit back more, which takes away their attack? I don't know. That's just something that kind of pops into my head because I'm a soccer nerd. But yeah, so I agree with you guys. Terrible back. Good up front. We'll see what happens. That'll be a good game to watch. LAFC.
That's me.
That's you. Oh, that rhymed. Connor, did you plan that? Wow.
Maybe. Okay, so some of the top arrivals for LAFC this offseason. Obviously Vermeer, Cifuentes, and BWP. And then some of their notable departures, Walker Zimmerman, Tyler Miller, and I threw in Steven Beitashour, even though I think he wasn't starting by the end.
Yeah, no, but good fantasy option.
Yeah. Currently, injuries, Diamande, obviously that's a big one. So then, just kind of like summarizing the whole team, I think that defensively they were obviously really strong last year. But this year is going to be interesting to see because now they obviously lost Miller and Walker Zimmerman. And I think Walker Zimmerman's going to end up being a big loss for them. Maybe. We'll see. But they obviously replaced Miller with Vermeer. We'll see how that goes. But I don't really feel like they've replaced Zimmerman in their defense. I think that they'll still be good enough defensively, that they'll still be a strong team, obviously. Their midfield is incredibly strong. I think arguably best in the league with K, Blessing, and Atuesta. They were 3 of LAFC's 5 strongest players on Who Scored. So obviously they were really influential for them last year. And then, of course, their attack's amazing. I mean, you have the MVP on your attack. It better be amazing. You're bringing back Rossi, Vela, obviously. And, they're going to continue to dominate. Obviously not to Zardes levels, but losing Diamante's going to hurt. So I think that opens up a shot for Brian Rodriguez to kind of step up and maybe show that he's worth that price tag that they paid for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. The issue for me is he had that chance against Lyon in game 1 of the CCL, and he flopped, and he was awful. They tried Vela in that same position as a false 9, and that didn't work. So Dio's out long term. BWP can't get fit, or that injury that he had keeps nagging on him. That is going to cause problems for LAFC in their attack. And I think you're right. I think Zimmerman's probably the biggest loss because Jakovic might have been the worst center back I've ever seen play, and I saw Ronald Zubar play. So
you've seen Tony Hibbert play.
Tony Hibbert was an outside back, and he is a god. Don't you dare disrespect Tony Hibbert.
But yeah, Bradley Wright Phillips had sports hernia surgery, so I don't know how long he is out for.
Yikes.
But yeah, that back line. I mean, I've only watched them in that Leon game, but that was suspect to say the least.
Big ups, Blackman.
Sure. Supposedly he's very highly rated, so I think he still gets that right back spot. But you need to step it up, dude. That you got torched that game.
Big facts.
And now you have a Miami team coming to you guys that's going to be hungry to prove, strong start, first game in franchise history in the league. They're going to look to take it to the arguably the best team in the league last year.
Yeah, no, like I said, it'll be fun, interesting to watch them because I think they've got a lot of spots they need to fill.
Yeah.
Good. Next up is the future MLS Cup champions.
Of this year or just in general?
Probably at some point, right?
I mean, that's a bold prediction. That's not really bold, but
Sound like the Loons.
Go on the Loons, baby. No, we'll wait for fantasy to do this. Do that part.
Yeah.
You bring in a goalkeeper who's already in goalkeeper of the year conversations. Medinir, Dotson, who's supposed to be really good again this year. Boxall and Coleman, not my favorite. And then Opara obviously is strong. They picked up Ja'Cory Hayes from FC Dallas, brought in Chacon, the new designated player. Jan Gregus and Ozzy are always fun to watch in the midfield. Really liked how Raheem Edwards worked out wide this season. I think he's going to be a good addition for them. Ethan Finley's always good for 7 goals, 10 assists, right? Molino is, whenever he's healthy, is really explosive and should add a good bit. And then you've only got one real notable striker in Amarillo. I was just waiting to see if Adam came up and got angry at me. No,
yeah.
Mason,
excuse me.
Mason Toy and Amarillo are going to be a good 1-2 up there. And if Chacon can get them the ball, they're going to put up nice goal numbers. The two of them together, they'll work real well together. So I'm excited to see this team in 2020 because I think they have a lot of good pieces this year, and I think that they can compete in what we've already noted was a very strong Western Conference.
Yeah, I feel like this team not being not talked about because obviously they finished 4th last season and they're looking pretty strong coming into this year. But I don't feel like there's necessarily the hype around this team that there maybe should be, if that makes sense. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they were fighting for the top of the West and just quietly went about their business week after week and said, let the Seattles and the LAFCs of the world have everyone's focus and we'll just do our thing here and don't mind us.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that the question mark is their attack this year. Just feel like it's unproven, but there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, Amaria is supposed to be good from what I've heard.
Mason Toy, unproven? How dare you?
I mean, I could spend another hour on Mason Toy, but I won't.
Nashville.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it ends up with Adam. I want to hear what he slates them.
I don't slate people just to slate people. I slate people when they deserve to be slated. And Nashville deserves to be slated. No. I don't know. I think without going into my standings, they will obviously be toward the bottom of the West, if not the entire league. I think adding Walker Zimmerman was massive. I think the defense without him in it is abysmal. But you saw LAFC without him and just the impact that he leaves. Hopefully, Dax can carry that midfield. Hani Mukhtar is going to be the one driving their attack. But the two guys up top are rapid. So it's going to be, bunker behind the ball, give the ball to Mukhtar, and play the two quick guys up top, and hopefully something happens. Just the casual home game to Atlanta to start the year.
Yikes.
Yeah, nice and easy. It's not like, Joseph and PT are scoring already in
Yeah.
every game they play. They'll be fine. I will say they beat FCC in preseason, so
Oh God.
just putting it out there that FCC is garbage.
I swear to you, Jason is gonna come find you and he's gonna knock your lights out.
It's fine with me.
All right, so I'm gonna go against you on this one. I think that these guys are very quietly not as bad as people think, and I've said this before, and I'm not going to go into it too much. Listen, they're experienced in the back. We talked about all the players they have in the back. They've got a good defensive two in front of them. If Mukhtar pans out, he'll lead the line fine. Not many wide players, so expect a more narrow formation, like maybe a 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, maybe. Keep everybody nice and tight. Make them, make teams try and beat them with crosses, which I think they'll succeed at. With Anababa and Zimmerman, and they'll deal with Romney as well. They'll deal with it, or they'll just collapse the ball in the middle and win it and counter. So the question is, will their young, unproven strike force, it's really rapid, finish the job up top? And I think more times than not they won't, just because I know the players that they have up there. But every once in a while they will. And if they can get on a streak where they start knocking a few in, this team might be fun. Might be fun to watch this year.
So their first 5 games are Atlanta, Portland, Toronto, Columbus, and Seattle.
Okay.
So, yeah.
0-5.
Yeah. You'd have to assume that's going to be a fairly tough opening 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, they got unlucky because they didn't get us on their roster this year, so that's one win they don't get.
Something like that. No. Dak's coming back to Red Bull Arena.
Oh, yeah. One day. Again.
Call a coach. He'll take over Chris Armas.
Yeah. Portland. Is that me? Am I Portland?
No, that's me.
Oh.
I'm Portland. Okay, Portland. Top rivals. Yimi Chara.
Emi.
I don't know if there's any relation to Diego Chara.
They're brothers.
Okay, there you go. Yaroslav Niezgoda. Felipe Mora. Those some of the big names, and then some of the top departures. I included Brian Fernandez on here. I think he was gone before the end of the season, though, right?
Yep.
So they terminated his contract, and he was in like a substance abuse and health program.
And then I said Zarek Valentin also. At the moment, wait a second. Where did I get these names from?
I don't know.
Am I looking at the right thing? Oh, I left a couple of the injury names on from FC Dallas. Jeff Antonella, I think, is possibly their only injury right now. So their defense was decent last year. It wasn't the best, but I think the good news for them is that they kept most of their defense. Only really losing Valentin, which was really just depth. I think the defense is going to be around the same level again this year, because I don't think they added too much. But maybe they'll surprise and perform better than expected. I think that their midfield could be very good. Obviously, you have Valeri, Blanco, and Chara in there. They are aging, but we'll see what they'll be able to do. I feel like that will control a lot of their success, because that's where their star players are, and their star players are going to need to perform for them. Their attack, for me, is a big question mark, because I think that replacing Fernandez is going to be tough. I think towards the end of last season, they were playing a Bobasi up top, and I know that they brought in a couple of new guys to possibly play the position as well, so it'll be interesting to see what they go with, and then if they can find some success in replacing what Fernandez brought to them.
Yeah, I thought they built a pretty good roster. Clark was fantastic last year in goal, and he'll be that same guy again. You don't lose that from year to year. Mabiala, always good, really good in the air defensively and offensively off corners and such. Morera was quietly really good. Villafana is a strong outside back. Cascante can do a good job. Like you said, their back line is good. Attacking wise, Blanco, Valeri, Flores, Pollo, and Paredes are all decently strong outside mid options for Gio to work with. Niasgoda and Mora up top are going to be, if they can turn it over and adapt quickly, they'll be good. And if they can't, I think Aboba's completely fine up top, especially in that system. I see Portland have another really good year this year.
Yeah, I agree with everything.
Great.
Nothing more to really say.
No, for sure. RSL. That's me. They lost a lot of big pieces this year. Severino, Brooks Lennon, Bofo Sosedo, and Mike Petke, the greatest coach of all time. McMath is going to be good in goal.
They lost Ramondo too, didn't they? Because he retired.
Yeah. But I feel like we talked a lot about that last week. Nah. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you, and I might get a lot of hate for this. Never was a big Ramondo fan. Thought he was...
Yeah, I agree.
I thought he got a lot of love for being just the guy who's always been in MLS. Never loved him as a player. Which is weird because he's a lot like me, like a shorter goalkeeper who was really good at saving penalties and like a good shot stopper. But never really liked his game style. Anyway, McMath is going to be good because he's a good shot stopper and can claim his box well, but he's only going to be as good as his back line lets him to be. You've got Glad, who's like your really only good, solid option. And you got Anua, who is okay, not great. I never liked Donny Toya, and he's one of their outside backs. Like I when he was in Montreal, I didn't like him. I didn't like when he got picked up in RSL. I just don't like him. I'm sure he's a good player. Just don't good person. Don't like him as a player. And then Herrera on the outside is also okay. Everton Luiz is a walking red card. I love that statement. That dude is that he will just go into any tackle. He doesn't care who you are, but he's also going to go in with his studs at your knee. Then you got 37-year-old Kyle Beckerman or Dmitry Kryluk, who's more of an 8 anyways. So if Kryluk plays, he's going to go forward, leave Luiz exposed, which means he's going to go into crazy tackles and get himself sent off. Baird is probably their best player wide, and Rusnak's their best player centrally. Jason Ramirez maybe can be good, maybe can be great, depending on how the players around him do. Miram's going to be good if he can adapt to that system. And then Sam Johnson, who was their DP signing last year, and he was awful. So if he can get up to speed and be the guy that they thought he was going to be, bully for them, but I got a notification. But if he can't, then I don't see them doing too hot this year.
Can I just say, not to bring it back to him, that Kyle Beckerman and Zlatan are the same age? Just to put things into perspective again.
All right.
I'm just putting it out there. But yeah, this team has a couple of young guys that I really like. So Jason Ramirez, I think, will be good. Rusnak's obviously their star player. Corey Baird's good. But then they have a bunch of guys that are just getting up there. I mean, Beckerman's 37, Kralak's 30, Merrim's 31, Anua's 33, Everton Luiz is 31. I mean, this team is definitely in a rebuilding phase. But I don't think they do much this year looking at them on paper, but they'll probably finish about where they did last season.
Do you remember when Nedum Anua was like a FIFA god in like FIFA?
I watched him make his debut at QPR, and he was horrendous.
No shock there.
I mean, QPR were terrible that day, but
yeah, well, that's why I say no shock.
Yeah, that was a weird game to watch him. Watched him with like Julio Cesar and goal behind him. Chris Samba that day started. It was a weird day.
So, I know you were talking about their back line before, and I'm just checking something really quick because I almost don't believe it, so I have to double check it. Yeah, so they only conceded 41 goals last year, which was second lowest in the entire league.
You're
Yeah,
lying.
they finished. Dude,
No,
they finished third place, third last year.
That's right.
they
They
were
had some randomly really good spell.
Yeah,
That's right. I do remember that.
they
they
were,
can't finish third because Colorado's going to do that. So
yeah, they only conceded 41 goals, which was only second lowest to LAFC. So
yeah,
somehow their defense was pretty solid last year.
That's crazy. Hold on. All right, now I got to do a quick look.
I had to double check it because I almost didn't believe it.
I would say I'll do it.
yeah. No, he's right.
Let's move to San Jose while I do this quick look, and we'll jump back to it.
Yeah, I mean RSL lost 4-0 to Houston in preseason. So
Who did they lose?
we'll see. But they have a nice easy game to Orlando to start the year, and Orlando's attack is
Duty.
a dumpster fire. San Jose is a team that exists.
And they play in the Western Conference of MLS.
Yeah, I like some of the San Jose players, like Nick Lima, Shea Salinas, and then they have a couple guys who used to play for Vitesse, like Baco and Kasia. Great. I love some of the guys on this team. I love watching them play. They're solid fantasy options for me. Fantastic. They have Wondolowski on their team, and I can't with him.
I'm now angry. You just made me angry.
Yes, for obvious reasons. Anyone who watched the World Cup will
No,
know
don't
why.
bring it up. I'm going to throw something.
Yeah. But they didn't do a whole lot in the offseason, in or out. They finished 8th last season, and maybe they get the last playoff spot. Maybe they do what they did last year. I don't know. I don't really. There's not much opinion on this team.
Yeah, I mean, they missed the playoffs by a game last year, and the best business they did was a super draft pick. Everybody else around them got better, which is not good news for them. Vega in goal, good, not great. Made a few mistakes you don't want to see. Right back, Tommy Thompson gives me life. Greg Zusi level crazy experiment that just might work. He was really good there. And if he doesn't work out, you can throw Lima, or you can throw Lima opposite him. Like, their outside backs make me smile. I don't like Youngworth. I never liked, he was just one of those guys who was always a step late to every challenge. Good leader, but just not one of my favorite center backs. Kasia.
Kashasvili.
What's that?
Kashasvili.
No. Gersha, the center back Kasia.
Oh, Kasia. Guram Kasia.
Yes. And I never liked him.
Oh, I love him. Crazy dude from Georgia.
Yeah, he's Georgian.
This
is the Georgia national team we're watching. Yeah. You got a few homegrown defenders on the wing, and that's it. So they're really thin at back line. Midfield's a little bit better. Cavillo, Espinoza, Vaco, Judson, who I liked a lot as a center defensive mid. Jackson Ewell, another 8 that I really like. Salinas, Danny Hosen, and Erickson on the wings, with Wando missed from 6 yards, Lowski up top. And that's literally it.
Is he their only striker? Who else?
I think so. Yeah.
Let's see.
Don't they have Andres Rios?
Is Rios a striker? I thought
I think
he was
they just brought him in. On Transfer Market, they have him as a center forward, but maybe he's a winger.
So the reason I didn't list him because I thought he was a winger, but that's just me.
He could be.
Anyways,
they also have Hosen as a center forward.
Yeah, Hosen's.
I like him.
Hosen's a hero there. I think he's better as a second striker, or like an underneath, like a withdrawn striker. But I think he is going to be playing on the wing more, just based off of the way their lineup is set, because they don't have a lot of good wingers. But can you imagine being Red Bull, knowing that you have talent that comes through year after year after year? You make the playoffs every year, and then you have this team that gets close for the first time in what feels like forever, and then they just go and take a draft pick, and that's it.
Yeah, I feel like they were just happy to almost make it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we did it.
Yeah, they missed it by 4 points. That's not that far off. That's, one result here, one result there, and you're in.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like I said,
this
if I'm there, I'm throwing the kitchen sink at this, transfer market and trying to get somebody who will get us there that isn't Chris Wondolowski. Anybody who's not Chris Wondolowski, for God's sake.
same age as Zlatan.
Stop!
Pointed it out there. Wanda wishes he could even lace up Zlatan's boots.
Oh, look, Seattle's up next. Otherwise, I won't get angry at Seattle. Go
Why
ahead,
not?
Connor.
All right, I'll get started so that you can calm down over there.
Thank you.
So some top arrivals for them: Yamar Andrade, Emmanuel Cecchini, and Miguel Ibarra. Some notable departures: Victor Rodriguez, Ki Kim, and Roman Torres. Some current injuries: Will Bruin, Nico Ladero. All right, so then their defense, I think, could maybe be a worry. Probably not. Obviously, they're going to be able to replace Kihi pretty well with Andrade. Um, obviously, you lose some depth with losing Torres. Their midfield, it's going to be strong. Obviously, Christian Roldan, he's a really solid player with Svensson. Lodero is obviously one of the best players in the league, no question. But, right now he's hurt, so that's going to definitely not help them much. If he gets healthy again and he gets up to his typical level of output, then that midfield is going to be extremely strong. And then I think their attack's going to be really great as well. I think that even though Rui Diaz wasn't great in their CCL game, I think that he was a lot better last year, and I think he could have a huge year this year. Um, Obviously, he's going to need some help. He's going to need Ladero to come back, but he's also going to have help from comeback player of the year, Jordan Morris. He's really starting to live up to some of that hype that he had coming out of college. And I think that the midfield and attack for Seattle is going to be their gameplay. I mean, I think that's going to be where they excel and like what carries them into being successful this year.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team we just spoke about San Jose who just missed the playoffs. This is a team that is literally MLS Cup champions right now, and they arguably got stronger. They said, "All right, we did well last season. How can we build off that?" We didn't. They didn't say, "All right, we won last season. Congrats. Let's take this year off." Um, I mean, top to bottom, this team is probably the strongest in the West, I'd say.
Yep, that's what I have. Strong all over the park. Fry's a top 3 goalkeeper in MLS. Andrade was great in CCL. Really loved his play. 3 great outside backs that can rotate all day long. Svensson, Roldan, Paulo in the middle. Ladero, Ibarra, who they just signed, who I thought was a good signing. Morris, Rui Diaz, Ship, Bruin off the bench. You name anybody on that team, they all can play. So
I think Will Bruin is injured.
no, he's coming back. He's on his way back. He was injured
Oh,
last year. He tore his ACL
gotcha.
last year.
Yeah, that I
Um,
know. Okay.
all their top 6 are coming back. They're going to be good again. There's not much to hype on these guys.
Yeah.
Oh, SKC. I wish you'd be better. And I think they will be. I think they'll be better this year. Melia will be better this year. Melia cannot be worse than he was last year. Besler, Fontas, Barath, Punkek, or Winston Reed.
Yeah, that's weird.
That transfer makes no sense, but I'm absolutely here for it.
I don't mind it.
Um,
I think he'll be solid for them.
I don't know, man. He's just he. We'll see. Uh, Luis Martin's on the wing with Graham Zusi, right back Graham Zusi outside. I really hope Jalen Lindsey gets some minutes. I want to see him. I think he's supposed to be a young, promising outside back for USMNT, so I hope he gets some minutes so we can look at him. Center mid, I was watching them play Red Bull, and this guy, Gotti Kinda, was explosive. This dude was just pick up the ball and run. Imagine Latif Blessing, but like it makes sense for him to be a midfielder instead of a winger. everybody's talking about all the announcers. They had a guy from Red Bull Radio, a guy from SKC Radio, and then a guy who's kind of like neutral. And both the neutral guy and the SKC guy were saying this guy, they love him in training, they love him in preseason, and he's supposed to get solid minutes. So I expect him to be the guy to pull the strings. You got Gutierrez, Espinoza. I really hope Gianluca Busio features more. Hashtag player kids, as Matt Doyle would say. Shout out Matt Doyle. Sanchez in there as well. Russell out wide, who's going to be better. Gerson Fernandez is going to be better. Polito up top is going to be better than Nemeth. Shallowy, who really should have been better last year and should get more minutes this year. I mean, if we're being honest, they were flat out awful last year. There's no question about it. They had no wins in their last 7 games, and 6 of those losses, 2 of them, they conceded 6 or more goals. Like, they just tossed it at the end of the year. It was awful. They were disgusting to watch. That's not going to happen this year. Vermees is not letting that happen again. Otherwise, Vermees is going to pop every blood vessel in his neck. They didn't have a lot of great players last year. But their top 6 are all returning, and they have a base to work with, and they're not going to let any of that garbage go on again.
I mean, they finished 4 points above Vancouver last season, so they were almost the worst team in the West. If not, I think they would have been the worst team in the entire league had it not been for FCC and Vancouver. But, I mean, Polito's going to have 25-plus goals. We've already established. Andrew, I'm amazed you didn't mention Shallowy's red card.
In
the preseason game.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the need to keep U.S. men's national team, I say stars in quotation marks, on the roster at this point. Beckerman, Zusi, Wando, Michael Bradley to an extent, but I will give him a little bit more leeway than the other 3. I mean, just move on. They don't do anything anymore. They don't do anything when they were in their prime. But yeah, I think this team, I mean, they can't do it much worse than last season, but I think this team takes a big step forward.
I think if I remember right, Andrew, you and I last year had them like as the best team in the league prediction-wise, right?
I watched them play 2 Champions League games, and I said they were going to win the Supporters' Shield. So,
I think I said the same thing too. Yeah, so
on paper they could be.
Yeah. That's what I feel like I said last year too, and then they didn't show up. So we'll see what happens with them this year.
Yeah, Vancouver. Yep, that's my first word too.
Yep. Vancouver is a team that exists. I mean, dead last in the Western Conference last season. They won a total of 8 games. Granted, it's 2 more than Dumpster Fire FC, but 8 wins over the season is just not good. And they have a good, I say good amount. They have a few players that I really enjoy watching. I mean, Ali Adnan is quietly, I think, a top 10 defender. Top 15 probably.
I'd give him top 10.
If I really sat down and think about it, I could probably make an argument for top 10. Mbam Wang in the middle, it does a decent enough job. Jordi Reyna is one of my favorite players in the league because I've seen him chase a guy down with like a 40-yard head start and catch up to him. Wild. I'm pretty sure it was at Red Bull Arena.
I've also seen him miss a few 3-yard shots. So.
Oh, that's not why I like him. I just think he's just rapid. I just like watching him run. And he doesn't have to score because they brought in Cavallini. So Cavallini's going to be the one getting easy little tap-ins while Jordi Reyna just blazes people down the sideline and whips it in.
Or whips it into Rosé.
Well, that too. 50-50. But they can't do much worse than last season. So, let's move forward.
Yeah.
They could do worse than last season. They could finish below FCC.
No, they won't. We've already established.
The other thing I want to say is that I was actually looking at a lot of their preseason lineups, and it's weird. Like, the players you think should be starting are not starting. Um,
Such as?
they're center backs, and they're playing Reyna at cam instead of a striker. They've rotated Cavallini and Freddie Montero, so they're not going with both of them. They're going with one of them. They've got this guy Kamiri, who I've never heard of, playing center back. They're going with Godoy or Cornelius, Nerwinski, Adnan, Kimri, Russell Tybert as a CDM, Inbaum next to him as a CDM. This guy Dejome, who they brought in as a right mid, he's played every preseason game at right mid, so I'm assuming he's starting their day one. Reyna at cam, this dude Milinkovic on the left, and then Cavallini or Montero top. So their starting lineup's good. They don't really have much off the bench after that, so I'm not sure how they're going to do. I'm not sure how great they are to begin with, and what happens after 60 minutes is all up in the air. But their lineup doesn't look like it should or like it did last year. Granted, like you said, they're not as good as they're not good, or they weren't good last year, so maybe this is a way just to mix it up. I don't know. But just something to chew on for thought. But now we start with fantasy. First fantasy segment of the year. This is exciting. We love fantasy here. Disclaimer, go join the DP Pod Fantasy League. We're gonna tweet out links. We're gonna post it on Instagram. We're gonna put it everywhere. So if you're listening to it, go find us. Yeah, really exciting. We have 31 people right now, and my favorite player in the league so far is Fulmingo FC, who is a Loons fan. No, this is not my burner account. This is a real person. Big ups, Fulmingo FC. We don't have a last name there, so if you're listening to this and you're in and you are happy, or if you're listening to this, we're happy to have you. Thank you for being here. But let's break down how fantasy works a little bit for people who are maybe new to this. It is the single most aggravating fun you'll ever have in your life. It's new things this year. It's one full season. It used to be two, a fall and a spring, so there are no refreshes, no half season, none of that. It is a fixed 125 mil budget instead of an increasing budget as your players get better. You have to keep your team below 125 mil or you don't score points. So if you make a team right now that's 125 mil and players increase in price, if you don't take them out of your team or find a way to lower your price, you won't score that week. Double game week has changed, where instead of taking the sum of both games in a game week, you're only getting the best score from that game week. So if somebody scores 8 points and then 2 points, you're only getting 8 points instead of 10. Not a fan, but new in the league. And then finally, Fantasy Champions League. So that's exciting. New little perk there. But 2 goalkeepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders, 3 forwards. Mix and match to get a formation. Your players earn points through performances in real life. And then 1 player is your captain, and that captain gets double points. You get unlimited transfers, so a new team every week. And automatic highest bench player substitutions means the switcheroo is back on and flowing. So what we're going to do here is give you guys a look at some must-have players that you have to put in your team week 1, and then a sleeper who might be able to be a differential for you in these early weeks where everybody's got super teams. So, Connor, who is your fantasy must-have this week?
Okay, so for this week, I went with Rui Diaz as my must-have. I just think that at home against Chicago is a good matchup for him, and I think that he's poised to have a good year this year, and I think he'll start it off right. And he's got a couple games under his belt, his CCL, that will help him hopefully be more season ready than the Chicago team.
Nice. Adam?
It's tough for me to pick anyone other than Joseph.
Yep.
I mean, he's already in mid-season form, scoring every time he steps on the field, and he gets to play a Nashville team that we don't really know what they're going to look like. They could be solid, or they could be a hot mess in their first ever game.
Yeah, that's a good shout. And then for me, I say you guys got to get Christian Pavone.
Yeah.
He's going to play alongside Chicharito, obviously, and without Zlatan, he's going to go ahead and I think he's going to be. And Adam said it best. I think he's going to be one of the best players for LA this year. He might be better than Chicharito just because people are going to be worried about Chicharito, so he's going to pick up all the slack. And starting off against a Houston team with a back line that is as awful as we've talked about, this one's a no-brainer for me. Side note, you obviously have to have Alex Maweel. He is the GOAT. Anybody who doesn't pick him is silly. Connor, fantasy sleeper.
So the one that I'm going with for my sleeper, he's kind of a bigger name, so it's not exactly like I'm picking someone out of nowhere, but I'm gonna go with Mark Anthony K, and
Okay.
I think at 9 mil, he's good value for this week and against Inter, who I just have no idea what they're gonna like how they're gonna play defensively. I think that a more ready LAFC could tear them apart.
Solid. Adam?
Yeah, again, not necessarily a sleeper because he's 11 mil, I want to say.
God.
Yeah, not a sleeper by any stretch of the imagination, but Gustavo Bo for New England.
It's a good shout. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think with Montreal having played the midweek game, if their home form is anything like we saw tonight, they're just going to throw 5 guys behind the ball. Gustavo Bo's looked very solid in preseason, especially up top next to Buxa. And I think that could be a sneaky little thing, especially if Montreal kind of rotates a bit after tonight.
I like that a lot. I think that's a good shout it's very easy to get lost in your striker options when you've got your Velas and your Martinez's and all those players, but I think that's a really good shout. For me, I am going to go a little bit cheaper, and I'm going to go ahead and say Bojan from Montreal. For the reason that I already talked about it, I don't like Montreal as a team. I don't think they've been good, and if they're going to sit players behind the ball like that, it'll be boring. But Tite is going to get the best out of him, and I watched him away at Saprissa, and he's got good attacking movement, and he's involved a lot, and involvement is big in fantasy this year. You get extra points for your involvement, how many passes you make, and how many times you get fouled, and how many shots you take, and things like that. And I think that if he's playing up top and they're going to sit players behind the ball like that, he can be the guy that starts or finishes off a counterattack. And if you're tight on budget for whatever reason at this point in the game, which I don't think anybody should be, but if you are, he might be worth taking a flyer on. All right. So we are at the point we make the predictions for our Western Conference. So I'm going to let Connor go ahead and go first.
All right, are we going bottom to top?
Yep, 13-1.
All right, 13. I got San Jose, then Vancouver, then Nashville, Houston, RSL, Portland, Dallas, SKC, Colorado, Galaxy, Minnesota, Seattle, LAFC.
Adam.
Starting from the bottom, I have Nashville, San Jose, Vancouver, RSL, SKC, Houston, FC Dallas. Unfortunately, Minnesota. Sorry, Andrew.
You're out.
Portland. I know. I just couldn't put them above Portland, LA Galaxy, Colorado in third, LAFC, and obviously Seattle on top.
Yeah. Connor, I got to be honest with you. I thought you were reading off of my notes for a second because I think our bottom 4 or 5 are exactly the same. And I was looking at it and I'm like, am I reading the wrong side? Is he reading the wrong side? No, my bottom is San Jose. In 12th, I have Vancouver. 11th, I have Nashville. 10th, I have Houston. 9th, I have Dallas. I think that's where we switched. 8, I have RSL. 7, I have SKC getting that last spot. Minnesota, I have in 6th. Though don't worry, Adam, you're not.
Oh, so you're doing the same as me.
You're not hurt.
Same as me.
Yeah. Now, and I'll finish this and I'll describe it. 5, I have Colorado. 4, I have LAFC. 3, I have Portland. 2, I have the Galaxy. 1, I have Seattle. I think 6-1 is going to be maybe separated by 6 points. I think it's going to be another super tight race this year.
Yeah. Well, last year wasn't tight, but that's because LA.
Well, you know what I
decided
mean.
to-
Like last
Yes,
year,
I
it
do.
was very close, right?
Yes.
All right. So now, with the little bit of time we have left, we are going to make predictions for this week's game, and it is going to be rapid fire. So watch the screen or listen closely, and we'll pop them up for you. It's going to go, we're going to say the teams. It's going to go Adam, Connor, me. Then we're going to move on. We got 13, and we're just going to bang them right out. And obviously, all of my predictions are right, so that's the only ones you need to listen to. But here we go. DC versus Colorado. Adam.
2-2.
Connor.
2-0.
Me. Colorado 2-1. Who do you have winning, Connor?
DC.
Gotcha. All right. Montreal, New England. Go.
3-1.
3-1 who?
New England.
Connor.
2-1 New England.
I also have 3-1 New England. Houston, LA Galaxy.
6-5. No. I don't know. 3-2. LA.
I'm gonna say 1-1.
Interesting. I said 2-0 LA. San Jose, Toronto.
2-0 Toronto.
Connor.
3-0 Toronto.
I also had 2-0 Toronto. Dallas, Philly.
2-2.
2-1 Dallas.
1-1. Orlando, RSL.
1-0 RSL.
2-2.
1-1. Nashville, Atlanta.
3-0 Atlanta.
I'm gonna say 2-1 Atlanta.
I said 5-1 Atlanta because these guys.
Yeah.
It's going to be a first game shocker like FCC had, but then they'll pick it up. Vancouver, SKC.
1-1.
3-1 SKC.
2-2. Columbus, NYC.
3-1 Columbus.
Love it.
3-2 Columbus.
Love it. I said 1-1. RBNY, FCC, and why is it 10-0 RBNY?
1-0 Red Bull. However, it's probably going to be 1-0 Cincinnati. So, 1-0 somebody.
I said 1-1.
I said 2-1 RBNY. Go on the boys. Seattle, Chicago.
3-1 Seattle.
I'm gonna say 2-0 Seattle.
I said 3-1 Seattle as well. LAFC, Inter Miami.
If LAFC rotate, 2-1 Miami. If they don't, 2-2.
I'm gonna say 4-1 LAFC.
I also said 4-1 LAFC. I think it's going to be a same thing. Shock and awe, and then everybody will settle in after.
There's no room for either of you on the bandwagon.
Yeah, no, we don't want to. You take up too much space anyway.
It's fine.
Portland, Minnesota.
3-3.
Nice.
Whatever.
Ooh,
Sure.
I said 2-2.
I said 2-1 Portland lose a heartbreaker.
Interesting.
All right, that is predictions done. Rapid fire. We love to see it. Question of the day, something we haven't talked about yet. Predictions. What are your predictions? I'll form it in a question. What are your predictions for MVP, Golden Boot, Golden Glove, and Newcomer of the Year?
Oh. Golden Boot Yosef.
Okay.
Golden Glove. It's hard to say anyone other than Fry.
Okay.
Newcomer of the Year. Oh, I don't know. That's tough. Zella Ryan. And what was the other one?
MVP.
Oh, Yosef.
All fair shouts. Connor?
I think I'm gonna go PT MVP. I'll go Zardes Golden Boot. I'll stick with it. I'm just gonna roll with it at this point. Oh God, I don't even know about Golden Glove. Jeez.
Let me help you. It's pronounced Mera.
I'm gonna say Tyler Miller. And newcomer of the year. Oh God. Do yours. I'll come back to it.
All right. Golden Boot, Yosef. Golden Glove, I also was going to go Tyler Miller, or I was going to go Clint Irwin. And I think I'm going to go Clint Irwin just to switch it up.
Go on Rapids.
Go on the Rapids. Newcomer of the year. Oh, this is a good one. I've heard a lot of good things about Namli. Like, people are saying he might be really, really good. I'm going to go Pizarro from Miami.
Oh,
yeah.
Can I change mine? Nah, I'll keep Dylan Ryan, but I did forget about Pizarro for a second.
Wow.
Yeah, me too.
You're on two. You know what it is? You're on too many bandwagons. That's the issue.
Can they tie for newcomer of the year? Can they get half a trophy?
Yes, we'll cut a trophy in half for them. And then my MVP is going to be Yosef, Golden Boot MVP, duel.
Sweet.
Connor, what's your last pick?
Newcomer. To just be different, I'll go with Edison Flores.
Nice. I actually like that. That's a good shout. I hate it because he's from DC, and I know it's not going to actually happen because he's on DC. But I think it's a really good shot to twist it up. Guys, that's our show today. We got that done super quick, and I'm really happy about it. Thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, be sure to follow us on Twitter at the DPPod1, Instagram, designated_players_podcast. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. The Designated Players Podcast, I believe, is the full term. We post videos every day there, so make sure you keep up to date with that. A lot of us will I think most of us will be tweeting from the DP account this weekend, so follow us for some takes on the games this weekend. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Oh, and then where can you listen to us? Now on anywhere you get your podcasts. That's right. We are on Spotify. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on... Goodness, what are the other ones? Tons of them. Anywhere you get your podcast, we're probably there. So go ahead and look us up, the Designated Players Podcast, and listen to us. If you can't find us, look for our links on Twitter or on Instagram, or look for us on YouTube. Everything will be there. Thank you for all of your engagement so far. We've had a ton of comments and listeners on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and we really love that you guys are listening, and we hope that you continue to do so, and that you keep interacting with us. Comment, let us know what you're thinking, ask us questions, just go for it. But that's all we have for today. Connor, Adam, any parting words?
One more show, and I'll finally get a scarf.
Yep. There you go. Good luck to everyone in fantasy this week, unless your name's Andrew, in which case I'm going to beat you anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure. That's right. Join our fantasy league as well. We'll make sure we tweet those out and post the links and stuff, and come test your knowledge against the best. But other than that, thank you again for listening, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of the Designated Players Podcast.